Welcome to Action Coaching. We're certainly delighted that you join us on today because we feel that God has a special coaching word just for you. Now, the desire of Action Coaching is to give people tips on things they might be dealing with and going through. And of course, from my experience and some of the things that I've been through, because I realize that every one of us need a coach, a mentor, or a guide, whatever the name you want to use. We need somebody who have been the way to give us some tips on how to navigate through the same path. It's not that we're trying to change you and make you into something different. We're just simply just giving you some coaching as to some situations that you are going to encounter as you strive to do great things in your life. Now, I know everybody's walk is different, but the one thing about it is all of the walks usually have the same characteristics, meaning that there are things that you are going to have to do in order to go through your path in life. And you're going to need someone consistently that you can talk to or encouraging you to continue to strive for, to let you know that these things are achievable if you just stay on the course. Because God has put great abilities in all of us. He made us uniquely who we are. And a lot of times in life, people spend so much time trying to copy somebody else that they never get the great joy in their life of expanding who they are, using their own gifts and talents and ability that God have given you so that you can be exactly who He created you to be. Now, the great thing in the world is that, I found out years ago, when they take people's fingerprints, and the reason they do that because nobody have the same two fingerprints. Nobody's fingerprints are just alike. And that's the way they identify their individual. But it's also sending a message too. Since nobody is alike, then that means that God got a gift and talent in all of us that we can use, and we don't have to spend all our time trying to be like somebody else. We can just enjoy being who we are and rejoice in the Lord at that fact. And that's what it's all about. Now, on today, I just want to talk about some more tools to action success. Some more things that you might want to consider on your journey or the adversity you're dealing with so that you can apply them and begin to turn your life around. These are things I've learned. These are things that others had to teach me and to help me understand the importance of doing that. For instance, I thank God that He gifted me with an awesome father. And I mean the fact that my daddy taught me some value of being a man. And through his teachings, a lot of times things that he would tell me about and try to instill in me helped me to become a better man, a better husband, a better father, and all of the things that I could do at a high level because he instilled certain values in me. And so when we do these coaching sessions, we're not trying to change you or make you into something that you are not designed by God to be. In other words, if I was trying to teach you how to run a 100-yard dash and break the world's record, well, if it ain't in you to run that fast, chances are you ain't gonna break the world's record. But then on the other hand, if I'm striving you and pushing you to be the best cook in the world and you are that, then chances are you're going to be an awesome cook just because someone was guiding you on the way. So in this action coaching session, let's just talk about some principles that are necessary for success, and it's necessary that you consider practicing them in your life. Now, I read books and I heard it time and time again, and I've experienced it myself. You know, one of the worst enemies to success or prospering or doing great things is having a whole lot of wrong habits. Now they call them habits because most people get them because habits is usually something you don't have to work too hard for. You just do it. When somebody got a habit of being not on time, not excellent about everything that they do, then they start making excuses for habits that do not prosper them in life. And the thing about it is, habits make you so comfortable that you dare to venture out into anything. I found out that when I was growing up, and I never will forget it, first time I was getting ready to go to college. Now, up until that time, I hadn't really been outside anywhere other than in the surrounding of my parents and the surrounding of the neighborhood. But all of a sudden, I was getting ready to be taken 240 miles away from where my family lived, and I was going to be placed in a surrounding with a whole bunch of people I did not know, and I was going to have to start doing things all on my own. You know, it wasn't the issue that my mother was an excellent cook, but now what am I going to do in a place where that kind of cooking is not there? How am I going to eat the right things? How am I going to survive? What am I going to do when I'm way away from my family and friends and just can't call them over to help me out? I'm going to have to start navigating through life. And then I'm going to college and I'm going to be put in a room with an individual I never met. We got to be roommates all this time. It'd be different if I was a roommate with somebody I choose, but that wasn't the way it worked. You were just assigned to a room, and whoever was in that room, you had to share that room in your college experience. Now, why do I say that? Because I found out early in my college experience some habits that I had and I liked, whether they were good or bad. When I was placed in a new situation, I was going to have to change some habits if I wanted to be successful. If I wanted to prosper, if I wanted to maximize what I was there for, certain habits that I had to change. For instance, all my friends I grew up in high school, I was always comfortable with them. I saw them every day. We either spoke or we went to the game, pep rally, all of these things together. They were my friends. I was used to having my friends. I was used to them liking me. So that was great. But now I'm in another situation where I'm meeting new people. And I don't exactly know what they think about me. Now my habit would say, well, just sit in the room, don't speak to nobody, just do what you got to do, and try to get through this. Wrong thing. I understood that if I were willing to adjust my habits and make them greater, or do some things that I didn't necessarily like, but they were good to change in my life, that was the only way I was going to be comfortable in this experience. So what I'm saying is, sometimes people can have a bunch of old habits that keep them failing all of the time. And unless you change, you'll never be successful. I've seen people who are late for everything. But if you want success in life, You can't keep being late for everything. I've seen people who don't want to work hard at nothing. I'm here to let you know, if you don't change that habit, you're not going to get real far. The point of the matter is, the first thing I learned is adjusting habits is not a terrible thing. Adjusting habits is the key to having greater success. Because there are things you can be exposed to that you never seen before that'll be a real blessing to you. Now, I don't want you to go anywhere. I'll be right back to talk to you. Sitting on my bed, watching a preacher preach on a television screen. And I said to myself, Lord, I can do better than him. I left off talking about how a lot of habits that people have to be changed. Did you not know changing habits and adopting something else in your life can prosper you even more? Here's a good example. I understood or learned that if I wanted physically to maintain certain things in my life, I had to make some changes. Now, I won't sit here and describe to you that those of you that have been to college, there are some things that you are introduced to that's maybe fun at the moment, but they're not habits you want to keep the rest of your life. And I understood that if I had to do what I had to do, some of my habits had to change. For instance, they gave you a schedule of classes. Now, nobody coming knocking on your door to wake you up to tell you you're supposed to go to class. And also, ain't nobody gonna be fixing your breakfast in the morning. Just like my mama used to prepare breakfast for all of us. Or if it was time for go to school, she'd be the one come in there and knock on the door and yell and say, you better get up. You got to do this and this so you can get prepared for school. And none of that was happening. And the amazing thing about the college classroom was they weren't coming to check on you because you didn't come to class. They just simply mark you absent and you eventually fail the class if you don't do what you're supposed to do. They ain't spend a whole lot of time talking to you about you better read the book, you better learn this. They give you the information. And if your habit was that you didn't want to do that, pretty soon you'll be coming home from college. But I learned if I wanted to be successful, certain habits had to change in my life. Now, changing habits are not as bad as a lot of people make it up to be. A lot of people don't want to change habits because they just stuck in what they like to do. Even though it's not benefiting them, even though it's not making them better, it's just because it's a habit and it's something they're comfortable to do, they just want to do that. When there's a whole world that you can discover, there's a whole lot of things that can be a blessing to you. There are a whole lot of areas you can venture in, and all it takes is being willing to change some habits. Now, not all habits are good. I mean bad. There are a lot of habits that are very good to apply every day to your life. They're good for you. But then, if you want to change your life, obviously you got to get rid of the bad habits and adapt some good ones. And that's what helped me change my life. When I started adapting new habits, I didn't need the alarm clock to wake me up to go to class. It was so built in me, I just wake up. I knew I had to go to class, and I knew there were things I wanted to do before I went to class, so I would just wake up. I understood that certain things that normally I would participate in, man, if I'm gonna make it through school, I can't participate in that too much. Now I'm not gonna take the time on this broadcast to explain some of those things, but some of those of you that have been to college or been around, you know certain things you cannot continue to do if you expect to move to another level. So I had to change those habits and make sure that I started practicing something that was going to expand me and not something that I was comfortable with. This last thing I want to talk about is another key to success is you got to learn to be comfortable in the uncomfortable. Most people won't do things because they want to do it where they're comfortable. You know, like people a lot of time won't even introduce themselves to other people simply because they're uncomfortable. They're afraid of that. They rather just hang out with their same old friends that they grew up with or call somebody at home, but you're never going to reach another level if you practice that, because there's so much more, so many experience that you are destined to have if you just be willing to change some of the habits in your life. You know, they use all kind of expressions in the world to help to motivate people that change is good. Change is necessary. Change comes along with growth. Have you ever seen people, and I'm quite sure you have, that people may be 40 years old, but in their mind they still trying to be 20. It's because they think 20 is where they need to be and don't understand that 40 offers you so much more that you have not yet experienced. But it also comes with a lot of changes too. I remember when my kids were first born, of course I was much younger, and I participated in sports in high school and college. So in my mind, I felt like since my kids were participating in the same sport and they were running, in my mind, I realized that I thought I could run like I was 20, but I realized you can still run at 40, but it ain't the same way. When my kids would get out there and they do something all day long, I had to say, look, I'm going to do this a good 30 minutes and I'm going to sit down. Because the habit I had when I was 20, it was not the same one that was going to let me prosper when I'm 40. It's not that you are changing things, you just understand that there are a way to do things. So I just want to encourage you that a lot of things are going on in this world. A lot of things are changing right before our eyes. A lot of things are going to force us to adapt different habits rather than try to hold on to the past habits. You know, the most dangerous thing to any person is the inability to adapt to the time and the day that they're living in. Because the tendency with all of us is to hold on to yesterday. But the problem with that is you can't hold on to yesterday. What you should have did in yesterday was get the benefit out of yesterday. But sure as the day ends, yesterday is going to be over and you're going to be in a brand new day. I'm excited about how God is opening up brand new things, brand new ways, brand new ministries, brand new possibilities. But it's going to take people changing a lot of their old habits. And one thing that is a key to success is you got to be flexible. You got to be willing to change some things for some new things. And God will certainly bless you in it. Well, I don't want you to go anywhere. I'll be right back to talk to you. Welcome back. Thank God for what God was just talking to us about today. I'm just giving you some tips that, one of the keys to success. See, sometimes you can hold on to old habits and you can't succeed. So that means you got to adapt new habits in order to succeed and go where you want to go. I often say it's kind of like exercise. At one level, your body can do certain things. But if you want to do things at a whole nother level, then you can't keep the same habits that stop you from doing it at a level. You got to change. You got to adapt some new things so that you can do it bigger, better, faster, and all of these great things. So we're excited about that. Now, I certainly want to encourage you to sit down and sow a generous seed faith offering for the support of Action Coaching. It is through your charitable giving and trusting in what God is using us to do that we are able to continue to bring Action Coaching in your home. I want you to sow a generous seed faith offering for the support of Action Coaching. Some can sow 100, some can sow 50, some can sow more than that. I can only assure you, if you help God's work will cause you to prosper. The amazing thing about the scripture, it consistently tells us the more we sow, the more we reap. It's kind of like life. The more you put in it, the more you get out of it. And you get out of it what you put in it. And it's the same thing with sowing in the scripture and believing God concerning prosperity. The more you put in, the more he's going to give you to give. And it's amazing that a lot of people don't understand that principle. It's not about the individual and the person. It's about you prospering and growing in your life. So I certainly want to challenge you today to sit down and sow a generous seed faith offering for the support of Action Coaching. There's a link in my bio that will give you a host of ways to sow unto Action Coaching, and I want to challenge you to do it today. We're believing God that many, many people are going to sow a special $40 seed for the support of Action Coaching because we want to do bigger and better things. We're going to have so many things that are designed to coach people and help them to experience the best out of their life. I'm excited about it, but we can only do it with your support. So I want to challenge you and sow a generous seed faith offering for the support of Action Coaching. Once again, the link is in my bio. stand with us and sow that seed on today. Well, the Lord bless you. I've certainly enjoyed this short time we have had together. But as I do each and every week, I want to encourage you. Share the word with a friend and keep the word in action.